Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is subject of child development and lecture number 21, and this is also related to the previous lecture, emotional development, and here we will discuss more about emotional development. The outlines of the lectures are introduction about emotional development and what is meant by emotional development, expression and control of emotions, how to deal with our emotions, challenge to emotional maturity, and explanation of different terms. Now, first of all, in introduction, along with physical and cognitive development, every child progresses through different phases of emotional development. Arguably, all children differed in their individual development. We know that the children have their different developmental patterns due to individual differences. So studies have shown that parents admit to having little information on emotional development, even though they also admit that their actions have great influence on their children's emotional development. As the physical changes of the brain that occurs during adolescence follow typical pattern of cognitive development. So during this time, this is an opportunity for learning and cognitive growth as the brain adopts in structure and function in response to experience. Emotions are not as easy to study or recognize as cognition, and for many decades, the study of emotional development lagged behind study in other areas of child development. However, by the early 21st century, researchers had developed several theories on emotional development. So, recently, different scholars are working on emotional development of the child. So, a lot of studies have been conducted on this area. In emotional development, we can also explain that this is the growth and the children's ability to distinguish between and to express their emotions in socially acceptable ways and to be able to understand the emotional content of other people's communication. Now, how is cognitive development related to the physical development? Physical development is connected to the cognitive development, and in infant and 7 months olds are given a toy. When the infants use their motor skills to push a button, they hear an exciting sounds. The infants are presented with the toy again after a period of wait time. So we can also explain that emotional development is the emergence of the children experience expressions, understandings, and regulations of emotions from birth to late adolescence. Emotional development, we have as already studied that this refers to the ability to recognize, express, and manage feelings at different stages of life and to have empathy for the feeling of others. So the development of these emotions, which include both positive and negative emotions, is largely affected by the relationships with whom, means with parents, with siblings, and with peers. And if we consider the examples of emotional development, then we can say that interactions with adults, relationship with adults, interactions with peers, relationship with peers, identity of self in relations to other, recognition of ability, expression of emotion, and empathy. So positive social and emotional development is important. So this development influences a child's self-confidence, empathy, the ability to develop meaningful and lasting friendships and partnerships, and a sense of importance and a value to those around him or her. In emotional development, 6 weeks, not until age 6 months, a smile may express emotions. That smile can be considered more emotional and social in nature. Emotional development, emergence of experience, expression, understanding, and regulation of emotions from birth, and the growth and the change in these capacities throughout childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. So, the development of emotions occurs in conjunction with the neural, cognitive, and behavioral development and emerges within a particular social and cultural context. So, during 3 to 4 months of age, laughter begin, eliciting laughter in babies at this age often involves an action that deviates from the norm, such as peekaboo games provoke. Development of negative emotions probably follows soon after, with anger still winning over sadness to express negative feelings. Fear begins to emerge, and infants often follow the emotions of their caregivers and form strong attachment to them. If we see toddlerhood and early childhood, so during the toddler period, in conjunction with the rapid maturation of the frontal lobes and the limbic circuit in the brain, recognition of the self emerges. As a result, the toddlers strive to become more independent, and the expression of anger and defiance increases in that struggle for autonomy. Children begins to develop more of sense of self. Emotions such as pride, shame, and self-recognition begins to emerge. So these emotional development leads to the strong sense of independence and deviance that often characterize the toddler years. The ability to differentiate the self from others also promotes basic empathetic behavior and moral understanding. By the end of the second year of life, toddlers respond to negative signals from others, and they have specific emotional responses to their own negative actions. The emotions that emerge from the rudimentary conception of the self are often called self-conscious emotions and include shame, embarrassment, guilt, and pride. So, some self-conscious emotions such as pride and guilt do not emerge until toddlers and young children have learned to conceptualize internalized standard of behavior. 20 months emotional expression is still largely non-verbal, although some emotional language may develop. For the most part, facial expressions, carrying or other vocal expressions, and gestures will express many of the toddler emotions. So, in early childhood, verbal skills develop, and with them, verbal reasoning. Children are also able to talk about their feelings as they learn how to express themselves verbally. As children enter preschools, they begin to label their own emotions and rely on discourse about emotions within the family to facilitate their understanding of basic emotions. So the young children first distinguish happiness from negative emotions and then begin to distinguish negative emotions such as sadness, anger, and fear from each other. So they begin to recognize those emotions in facial expressions. And then, as they enter middle childhood, they begin to understand situational determinants of emotions. An understanding of emotional subjectivity also develops as children learn that what makes one child happy that may not make another child feel the same way. The emergence of emotional and self-regulation is particularly important during early childhood and occurs in the context of family and peer relationships. Often expressions of positive emotions and warm supportive relationships between parents and children promote effective emotional self-regulations. Now again we shall discuss about emotional development. In young children, as young children enter preschools, they may be able to label their emotions and learn about them by understanding family discussions and actions concerning emotions. About preschoolers, that those begins to understand the rules of family, schools, and society concerning how they express some of their emotions. They also can recognize nonverbal cues of emotions from one another. Preschoolers begin to distinguish between negative emotions such as sadness, anger, and fear. At later children move into later childhood, they learn the rules of displaying emotions, which is a form of social and emotional development. Then school age children begin developing emotion copying skills, even if those skills are at a very basic level. For example, children may rationalize situations and behaviors or reconstruct scenarios to make them seem less upsetting emotionally. Adolescence emotions still are developing. In phase, the adolescent years often are considered an emotional period of development. Although adolescents begins to develop independence from their parent and begin to display social signs of independence by gaining employment, driving, and other activities, their emotional autonomy is represented by conflict and often not emotions. Family issues and struggles over becoming independent with curfews, academic pressure, the romantic and other peer interactions all place a great deal of pressure on adolescent emotions. So strong emotions, strong self-perceptions from early childhood may give way to self-doubt or feeling of worthlessness. As adolescents realize that their emotions are separate from their parents' emotions, and that is process is called emotional autonomy begins. Adolescents may feel pulled between the close emotional ties they have with their parents and need to develop about uh, and need to develop independent emotional responses. So, if depression is going to occur and generally begins during adolescence, more common in girls than boys. So now expressions and controls of emotions. If we talk about expressions, so this is basically the idea or feelings which is showing of them through words, actions, or artistic activities. And this is also the way that the face looks at a particular moment and it shows what you are thinking or feeling. And if we talk about emotional regulations, then this is a major part of emotional development in children. And adolescent is how children recognize, label, and control the expression of their emotions in ways that generally are consistent with cultural expectations. So this is called emotional regulation. There are 6 steps to control your emotions. Like emotions are the most present, pressing, and sometimes painful force in our lives. So we are driven day by day by our emotions. We take chances because we are excited for new prospects. We cry because we have been hurt, and we make sacrifices because we love. Without a doubt, our emotions dictate our thoughts, intentions, and actions with superior authority to our rational minds. But when we act on our emotions too quickly, or we act on a working kinds of emotions, so we often make decisions that we later lament. First of all, that don't react right away means reacting immediately to emotionally triggers can be an immense mistake. It is guaranteed that you will say or do something you will later regret. Before refuting the trigger with your emotional arguments, take a deep breath and stabilize the overwhelming impulse. Continue to breathe deeply for 5 minutes, feeling as your muscles intense and your heart rate returns to normal. As you become calmer, affirm to yourself that this is only temporary. Ask for divine guidance, like faith is our saving grace in our darkest moment. So, no matter your great, developing a healthy relationship with the divine word will help you surmount your obstacles more easily. So, this is because when you believe in a higher force, you also believe in the power of divine interventions to show you what you must do, teach you why something is happening, or even save you from the certain unwanted situation. So, when burdened with emotions, close your eyes, envision a positive solution to your problems, and ask the universe to illuminate the best path forward. The third way is find a healthy outlet. Means now that you have managed your emotions, you will need to realize it in a healthy way. Emotions should never be bottled up. Call or go see someone you trust and recount to them what happened. Hearing an opinion other than your own broadens your awareness. Keep a journal and transfer your emotions from your inner self out onto the paper. So many people find it helpful to engage in aggressive exercises such as kickboxing or martial art to discharge your feelings. Other mediates and cleanse to return to a tranquil state of being. Perform whatever activity is best suited to you in order to liberate your being from pent up sentiments. Now, the fourth one is see the bigger picture. Everyone happening of our lives, whether good or bad, serves a high purpose. So, wisdom means being able to see past the moment and discern the greater meaning of any given situation. You may not understand it in the beginning, but as time goes by, you will begin to see the bigger picture falling into perfect order. Even in the midst of an emotionally upsetting moment, trust that there exists an ultimate purpose which you will come to comprehend soon. The fifth one is that is replace your thoughts. Negative emotions bind us to recurring negative thoughts, creating cycles of downright negative patterns. Whatever you are confronted with an emotions which is making you feel or think something bad, force it out of your mind and replace it with a different thought. Imagine the ideal resolution to your problem playing out. Think about someone who makes you happy and remember an event that makes you smile. Forgive your emotional triggers, like your emotional triggers may be your best friend, your family members, yourself, or all of the above. You may feel a sudden wave of anger when your friend does that thing she does, or a stab of self-loathing when you remember something you could have done differently. But when you forgive, you are detached. You are detached from the resentments, the jealousy, or the fury lingering within you. So you allow people to be who they are without the need for escalating emotions. As you forgive, you will find yourself disassociating from the harsh feelings attached to your being. So these are the different emotions, like how to deal with your emotions, like anxiety, angers, hostility, rags, etc. Everyone has emotions. Some people, however, may not how to deal with those emotions. Whether you are dealing with anger, anxiety, or frustrations, you always need a way to manage your feelings calmly and positively. Then the best strategy is that sit somewhere comfortable, turn the light down, and breathe slowly and calmly. Focus on something other than what is upsetting you. Maybe you can try to imagine that you are rowing or a small boat along a valley, and anything that helps you feel calm. Second one is that good. Now that you are calmer, what is it that is bothering you? Don't push yourself, but think about your situations. What can you do to prevent those unwanted feelings in the future? Stop thinking about the past. Think about now and the future. The third one is that don't try to take on the world by yourself. Go find someone to talk to, whether it is your best friend, parents, or counselor. Talking with someone who you feel comfortable with, which can with it can release many negative thoughts you may have. So they may also be able to come up with a solution to your problem or a way for you to cope. Hiding your problems will only make you feel even sorry for yourself. Express your feeling to someone you really trust. Then keep a positive outlook. Hope for the better tomorrow and never doubt yourself. Respect who you are and learn to love yourself. Remember that you must love yourself before you can love someone else. Then finally open the window and look out. Light from the sun will help you feel better. Now there are some challenges to emotional maturity. Like emotional maturity is the ability to differentiate and properly identify one's emotions while granting yourself the freedom to experience whatever emotion is appropriate to a given situation. So, what emotions would be common in this experience? I will pick three: anxiety, dread, and insecurity. Like that is difficult because the physiological, cognitive, and neurological experiences of various emotions are not that different. If we talk about the anxiety, that how many areas can this person ask, am I? Am I making the right decisions? Then dread, how hard is it to be that excited about the future and content in the present? And about insecurity, who wouldn't be asking, am I good enough for the marriage or role I am wanting? What do all three of these emotions have in common? Like neurological, there is a high degree of overlap in the neurotransmitters involved. Physiologically, the body reactions of these emotions are highly similar, and cognitively, for all three thoughts race while predicted outcomes get larger and increasingly negative. So, this was all about this lecture. Take care. Allah Hafiz.